Hi, my name is Bill Starner, and welcome to this masterclass in negotiation. Here at Bentley, I'm a professor of management and director of our MBA program. Over a number of years prior to that, I was in business negotiating a variety of different business negotiations. You know, here at Bentley, I teach a couple of different courses, one of which is a class in negotiation. What I found is as we move through our careers, the stakes get ever more important as you enter into more sophisticated, complex negotiations. And yet at the same time, very few business executives have really had any experience or any practical training actually in the negotiation. And so that's what makes the negotiation course here so popular, and also what makes it most valuable for our students as well. And you know, what I have found in every course and in every executive development program that I've run on negotiation, there are two questions that I constantly get asked. One is, can I actually negotiate in a positive way my salary? And number two, can I negotiate my salary in a way that will not alienate or endanger my potential to get the job and to perhaps harm the relationship of the people I'll be working for? And the answer to both those questions is yes. Now let's spend some time and talk about 3 or 4 points that you might want to consider as you enter into some salary negotiations. Okay, so let's start. One of the first things we have to remember is we have to take the salary within the context of the overall scope of the job. We have to understand the job, the duties and responsibilities, the organizational culture, opportunities for upward advancement, and those sorts of things. Once you have those understood, then it's an opportunity to sit down and begin to discuss salary. I think it's important that one of the first things you do is to make a decision as to what you're worth, your market worth, and what the value of the job that you're interviewing for is worth in the market. This takes a lot of work, but it's very important that you do it, and you'll find that it'll be worth it at the end. In order to determine this information, I think some of the things you need to do is to network with people in the industry, talk with people who hold those jobs either in the company you're interviewing with or similar companies. Get your hands on some relevant and current salary survey information. Talk with recruiters and other people who know the industry, who provide you both a range for what that job is worth in the market that you're competing in, and also give you an indication of what your job value is worth as well. The process generally goes like this. The recruiter or the hiring manager will ask you early on in the process, well, what salary are you looking for? Be careful. Don't take the bait. What you want to do is you want to have them provide you with their range or their number first. One way to turn it around would be to simply say something like this. Well, I'm really interested and want to make sure that the salary we discuss fits within the range that you feel is appropriate for the job. Would you mind telling me what your company's range is for similar jobs and what you pay people that are doing similar duties and responsibilities? This will allow you to get their range first, and from that you can bracket off of it. So if the range they give you is higher than the range that you believe, you could simply say something like, well, that's good to hear, because that was in line with what my expectations are as well. However, if the range is lower than what you've expected, then you can back off and simply say something like, well, that's surprising, because my objective information led me to believe that the salary range for that job is actually higher than that, and that the range would be something between X and Y. Perhaps we could have a discussion about why that discrepancy is there. But by all means, don't give a number. If you're forced to give a number first, don't give a number. Make sure you give them a range. If you give them a number, that will tend to lead to a more adversarial win-lose discussion. You'll give them a number, and then you'll have to negotiate off of that number. They'll give you a number, they'll have to negotiate off of that number. This provides you with a situation where one side will win, one side will lose, and as a result, the relationship will not be nourished. What you want to do is you want to have a range. And once you can agree on the range for that job, then your job is to convince them and to demonstrate to them why you should be paid at the top end of that range. That's called positioning for your maximum plausible position. So let's talk a little bit more about this concept of asking for your maximum plausible position and why it's so important for your salary negotiation. Let's use an example. Let's say you and the company have agreed that the range for a particular job is between $100,000 and $150,000. Your job is to communicate why you believe your skills, knowledge, and abilities position you for the $150,000. Now that may seem logical, but in reality, most of us don't do that. Why don't we ask for what we think we're actually worth? And there's several reasons for that. The first might be we don't want to seem too greedy. We want to build a relationship with our manager. We want it to seem as though we're excited about the opportunity, and we don't want to create obstacles that may give them second thoughts about offering a job. But the important thing is this: you really should ask for your maximum plausible position, because by not asking for it, you actually diminish your perceived value in the eyes of the hiring manager. Then the benefit of doing that is it increases your perceived value, and it also gives you a wider range to negotiate your salary options. So always ask for your maximum plausible position. It will increase your perceived value in the eyes of the hiring manager and give you a broader bracket within which to negotiate a successful agreement. Now that you've established what the range of the position is, and you've communicated effectively why you think you're at the top of the range, what you want to think about now is what can you do to improve your leverage to get the job and to get the salary that you're looking for. One way to increase your leverage and to get that salary that you're looking for is to have multiple options. Now this takes a lot of work. To have multiple job offers is a significant leverage point in a negotiation. Now, how would you work that without alienating the other company? I think it'd be pretty simple, actually. Let's say you're talking with a company that you really want to go work for. It's an opportunity that would fit very well with your career path. It's a company that has a reputation that you're looking for, and you'd be working for somebody that you think would really add to your career. However, what you find is that they've come up with an offer that's somewhat disappointing. You have another offer, however, that has perhaps not the same job content interest for you, but has a higher salary. I think you can work that in something like this. Listen, I really want to work for you, and I really want to work for your company, and that's my number one priority. But I do have another offer, and that offer is for significantly more, and here's what that offer is. Is there some way that we can have a discussion about how we can close the gap between those two numbers? I think that does several things for you. Number one, it reaffirms the fact that you're legitimately interested and you want to go to work for that company. And also, by the same token, you want to have a discussion about why there is that discrepancy in pay. I can give you an example where that worked just a couple of years ago with one of my MBA students. She used exactly that strategy with the company that she was working with. The job offer that they offered her was $40,000 to $50,000 below another offer that she had. Now, what she said was this. Typically, what she would have done is not brought up the other offer because she didn't want to seem greedy, and she didn't want to alienate the hiring manager, and she didn't want to risk injuring the relationship. However, after having a discussion, she used the strategy of let's talk about why there's this salary discrepancy, and that the job that she was looking at, her priority was with the first offer. The company sat back and responded along these lines. They apologized to her for making an offer that they thought was clearly outside or below what the real market value was for the job, and they gave her an additional $40,000 in salary. And at the same time, her perceived value went right through the roof. So by having a different option, it's the marketplace telling the company what your real value is. You have a tangible and real option outside of the company that you're talking with. You have to communicate with the company why it is you want to, that they're the priority and you want to work with them, but you do have this salary discrepancy that you want to resolve. This puts you in a very highly leverageable place. It increases your value, and even if you don't get the full value of the difference between the two, you will have benefit down the road because the company will have an increased perceived value for you. You'll probably get better assignments, and there's also a very high probability that you'll get more money, more increases over a shorter period of time. So it takes a lot of work, But if you have specific options that you can lay on the table and demonstrate that the market places a different value on you than the company that you want to go to work for, then you're in a very strong place. But be careful. I don't recommend doing this without a specific offer. So don't go in and bluff, and also don't use the strategy of meet this or beat this. That's a very high-risk strategy, because one of two things is going to happen. When you say meet this or beat this offer, they can also say forget it, and then you lose the job opportunity that you really want. Or even if they give you the number, you'll injure the relationship, and it will carry over in the new job with some of the relationships that you have. But if you can have an open, frank dialogue about, well, I have another offer, and that offer is for X, which is substantially more than what you're offering. You want to go to work for that company, but what you want to have is a dialogue to better understand why the discrepancy and what sorts of things can be done to close the gap. Now, also, be creative when you're having that discussion. It doesn't have to all be a salary increase. I'll give you another example from an MBA student that I had about 2 years ago. The issue of getting a salary increase was off the table because that was the range and that was what was directed by the company. The student very astutely said, well, there are other things that perhaps we can do. For example, I know companies offer sign-on bonuses. The company came back and gave that student a $10,000 sign-on bonus. In addition to that, the student said, I'm going to incur some significant relocation expenses, probably to the tune of $10,000 or $15,000. The company could address that and actually gave the student an additional $15,000 for relocation. So they were able to address those issues and yet still maintain the integrity of the salary offer they made, and the student ended up with a net $25,000 additional in the salary package. So increase your leverage by having other options, and then have an opportunity to discuss the discrepancy with the company that you really want to go to work for. And by having objective by another company offering you that's validation of what your real market worth is in the marketplace, and it will prevent sort of the adversarial discussion about here's my offer, take it or leave it sort of negotiation. Okay, so to summarize on the issue of leverage, I think there's 3 things that you want to really consider. Number 1, have multiple options that will increase your leverage and give you a significant objective, third-party objective information about what your market value is. Number 2, avoid the take it or leave it strategy that will only lead to negative adversarial negotiations. And number 3 is to be creative. Think outside the box. It's not about just base salary. You can do things, as I explained earlier, with respect to bonuses, job content, relocation, et cetera, et cetera. That gives your new employer a wider variety of things that they might be able to do when they won't be able to just give you a salary increase. So we covered a lot of ground in this short period of time. Let me just summarize some of the key do's and don'ts. Number 1, make sure you keep things in perspective. Don't get so hung up on salary and don't get that too far out too far up front in your negotiation. Sequence it, think it through, and bring up salary at that point in time after you've developed a relationship with the hiring manager. Number 2, go into the marketplace, find out what the job is really worth, and find out what your real objective value is. That will significantly help you to determine what the range is and make sure that you get the other side to give you the number or the range first. Number 3, increase your leverage. And you can increase your leverage by having other options. Second job offers, other opportunities, etc., which will allow you to increase your perceived value and to get that salary that you're looking for. And number 4 is to make sure you always ask for your maximum plausible position. Don't negotiate yourself. Don't discount yourself. You're worth it. Make sure you ask for it. And if you follow those 4 steps, there's a very high probability that you'll get what you ask for. Here are some things to avoid. Don't accept a job just because the salary is what you're looking for, or in fact, even higher. In fact, if the job salary is higher than what you think, that's usually an indicator that there's something wrong with either the company or with the job. Number 2, don't accept a job at the lower end of the range. That tells you something about the company's philosophy, and what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have a discussion about what the discrepancy is between what you think the market value is for your job and why the company is discounting that. Number 3, don't bluff about a job offer, and don't use the take it or leave it gambit. Those are very high-risk tactics and can only hurt you both in terms of the job and in terms of the relationship. Negotiating a new job and a new salary is very stressful, and I hope this brief time we've had together has provided you with some insight and some tactics that will hopefully make things a little bit easier for you and more comfortable. I hope you found this session to be of benefit. And if you would like some additional information on this or similar topics, I encourage you to explore more about Bentley's programs. And I look forward to seeing you in one of my negotiating classes.